Joining me on the phones right now, spokesman for Lubbock Power and Light, Matt Rose. Matt, good morning. How are you?
Hey, how are you? Good morning.
Thanks for joining us today. Appreciate it. Yesterday, big announcement was made. Looks like in 2021, at least most of LP&L will be moving over to ERCOT.
Yeah, that's the plan for right now. It's what we put in our application this past September, that we're going to migrate 70% of our load over to the ERCOT market in June of 2021. Reason for the partial amount going over, not the full, has been talked about before, is we have a partial requirements contract with Xcel Energy that was signed back in 2010 that starts in 2019 and runs for a number of years. And so, but right now we're only talking about 70%. But the goal is to ultimately move 100% over, as quick as possible.
But I mean, is that going to take until? And by the way, we're going to have Matt on next week on Tuesday for an extended period of time to go through to go through everything. So the 30% or so that's left in 2021. Are they going to have to wait till 2040 to move over, or is there going to be some work done to try and to speed that up?
That's the next step of this process that really, it's already begun, but officially begins today. We've been focused on getting that approval from the PUC because that wasn't a small task to get done. But the next step of this process is that we're going to conduct an opt-in study. The council and our electric utility board passed a resolution saying they want us to move towards competition and they want us to study how to do it. And so we're going to do an opt-in study to really put together a roadmap of how a city opts into the market, because no city has opted into the competitive market since deregulation in 1999. But a part of that opt-in study is going to be looking at all aspects of this 30% contract.
Okay.
And digging into it and seeing, it is our full intention to honor the terms of that contract. But within that contract, we're going to take a look at what that really means for our territory, because really what that contract serves is we have two systems in Lubbock. One of them is the old LP&L system, and one of them is the old SPS or Excel system. And they're two different systems. And so we're going to look at the technological aspects of this in terms of our grid, but we're also going to look at what that contract really means for us. And again, our goal is to get 100% over to ERCOT, and our goal is to ultimately create a roadmap to bring competition to Lubbock for everyone. We just need to really drill in and see what that means. We've got 3 years until, initial cutover. So this next year is going to be about looking really closely at that aspect of it.
Visiting with Matt Rose, the LP&L, and again, we'll have him on for an extended period of time next week on Tuesday. Before I let you go, and I'm sure you saw this story from the Texas Tribune
Yes.
That came out last week that, to me, raises a lot of red flags about the current ERCOT grid, where they say that they're operating in tight reserves. They said that, let me try to find it here, that they're possibly going to have to force Texans to curb their power usage. They said that they barely have enough power to meet the demand from June through September.
Right.
That worries me, Matt.
Well, and I'll tell you this. This story is not an insignificant one, but the story is also one that gets printed about once a year, because ERCOT does a seasonal adequacy report. They call it the SARA, and basically that outlines what the reserves look like and what they anticipate their peak to be. What I'll say very simply is that the structure of the ERCOT market is one that's going to be it's going to have less of a reserve margin than some others, because it's operating as a true market. And the goal is always to never let those reserves go below 13.75%. And so what that report is looking at is saying, hey, if we have a really hot summer, which we think we will, and if we hit record peaks like we did 3 times last summer, and if we have retirements of coal plants, and if we have any sort of an event where a major generation unit goes down, then we anticipate that we could fall below that 13.75%, that we could get to 9.3%. And what I would tell you is that the legislature has ordered that they closely look at this. And last summer, we hit 3 peaks. This winter, ERCOT hit another peak, and they've been just fine. They have a strategic reserve margin that they don't tap unless they actually get down below that 13.75%. And so in speaking with ERCOT this week, if there were an event that all of those things line up and there are tight reserve margins, they've got a reserve that they can bring on board to stop anything that might happen. The last time they had an event in ERCOT where they had an interruption of service across an area was in 2011. And since that point, the legislature has mandated that they have more contingencies. ERCOT's working on it. I don't believe anything like that will happen this summer, but one of the positives in all of this is that Lubbock does not get hooked up till 2021.
Right.
And should we see tight reserve margins, that's going to create an environment in that market where they're going to have to bring on more generation. And remember that there's a difference between being down in Houston and having all of that industrial load and being where we are out here, where we have all of this wind energy around us and generation. There's about 85,000 megawatts of capacity in ERCOT. Lubbock's peak is 600. So we're a half of 1% of the total load. So I think in terms of reliability out here in this area, I think we're in a really good spot. But of course, we want the entire market to be strong. So
good.
We'll be looking at it closely. We can dig into it in a lot more detail and run through the numbers on Tuesday. But just as kind of a primer, I wanted to throw out there that this report is something that they address seasonally, and it's not insignificant, but it's also something that we feel like at this point they've got a pretty good handle on. And so we're gonna keep looking at it closely and plan accordingly.
Before I let you go, we just had someone who texted in, what will happen to LP&L Power Plant and its employees?
Right. We don't have any – the switch over to ERCOT right now does not have any impact on our staffing at our plants. As part of our application that we put in with the PUC and our planning models, we include 114 megawatts of our own generation as part of our energy portfolio. So right now, we've been in a state, because we've been looking at the efficiency of units, we actually have 2 units that we've mothballed in the past few years just because they're old units, and it was really costing us millions of dollars to run them as opposed to, breaking even. So we've been in an area where we've been looking closely at production, but right now our move to ERCOT has no effect on staffing or really what we do with our generation, because we'll need that for our own use, after 2019 and beyond.
All right. Matt, we're going to visit with you. We were going to just do a short segment there, but there's a lot. No. Look, there's a lot to get into here, as you know, and that we're going to spend an extended period of time on Tuesday talking about all of this and invite questions as well. So, Matt, we'll visit with you Tuesday. Appreciate you giving us a call today.
Great. Thanks for letting me have a minute.
You bet. That's Matt Rose with Lubbock Power and Light. Chad Hasty Show, KFYO.